In other environmental news, environmentalists staged a different type of protest that was not exactly directed at any one timber company or harvest plant today. This time, the issue was log exports. For the first time, Earth First protesters took to the sea instead of the trees today to demonstrate against log exports. Calling the action the No Log Exports Flotilla, the protesters say 15,000 jobs have been sent overseas.
While that's happening, the environmental community is getting a lot of flack for taking jobs away through protecting habitat and ecosystems, which is in fact something we all depend on. So basically we feel that exporting these jobs is a profit greedhead scam.
Humboldt Bay Forest Products, which exports logs, was the target of the protest. Company officials say they were somewhat surprised by the demonstration.
My point of view is it's another form of business. We always talk about the balance of trade. Well, this is one way that we hopefully try to balance out our trade deficits a little bit.
Yet the company officials were also entertained by the protesters, who rented wetsuits and life jackets for the swim in the wind and strong tide. It reminded some spectators of a kinetic sculpture race practice run.
This is where the action is, and that's what Earth First does. We go where the action is, and the action is on the water for log exports.
The owner of Humboldt Bay Forest Products says, however, that Earth First is merely looking for another issue today. He says the debate over log exports is really a minor issue in Humboldt County, particularly since log exports only amount to a fraction of the total harvest here.
Well, most of our logs here are come in the yard, they're sorted, and they end up back here domestically. The owners decide to sell them domestically. That's their own business. It's right now the export of logs in Humboldt County is well, last year it was less than 2% of the gross amount of logs that were handled in the county.
Eventually, the makeshift flotilla made it to the company's dock. A Coast Guard boat was nearby in case something went wrong. Other Earth Firsters walked up the waterfront, where they were turned around by sheriff's deputies. The rest of the flotilla eventually beached and walked off the company's property without incident.
Earth First protesters in rafts, on surfboards, and in boats launched a campaign today against exporting logs. They say the logs should be milled here so more workers can be employed.
Earth First's Ban Log Export campaign is one manner in which we can show common ground with the timber workers. Whole log exports clearly harm both the ecology and the economy of this region.
Some timber workers hold environmentalists responsible for recent mill closures on the Northwest, saying they tie up land protecting old-growth redwood and spotted owls. But Earth First says they are, quote, tired of being trashed as anti-worker.
Well, I once was a sawmill working man, but now they're selling our trees to Japan.
Earth First guerrilla flotilla then paddled over to log exporter Allen and Finn in Fields Landing, where owner Woody Murphy said Earth First figures of 15,000 new mill jobs is not accurate.
My simple thing is prove it, because I know that that's not true. I know how many people work here and how many people take to make it. What a log creates in jobs. And we put people to work here. We don't take people out.
In Fields Landing, Susan Thomas, Channel 6 News.
The timber industry responded to this afternoon's protest by emphasizing the importance of exportation to the local economy. While large companies like Louisiana Pacific export only a fraction of their timber, small timberland owners and tree farmers could be put out of business by an export ban. Local logs can bring them a high price overseas. According to LP spokesman Shep Tucker, environmentalists aren't taking these local workers into consideration.
They need a healthy economy and a marketplace to sell timber into. And I don't see Earth First taking the time to make those investments. It's real easy to go out and be against something, but it's real hard to come up with solutions and be for something.
Because foreign purchasers are willing to pay a high price for American goods, exportation brings millions of dollars to the economy nationwide. The timber industry says a ban on timber would do damage not just locally, but across the country.
Those dollars are being reinvested here in the United States. Now, do you tell them that they can't buy our logs, but they can build a new Toyota plant or a new, microchip plant? So I think it's more than just stop the logs. I think you have to look at more of a global perspective about what import and exports are, not only to the county but to the nation.
Meanwhile, the timber industry is pressing the federal government to drop an existing export ban on timber from national forests. $75 million in timber revenues could be accrued by the federal government if the ban were lifted.
Joining us live from our Redwood Empire Bureau is Leslie Lollick, and she has the latest on this story. Earth First again, Leslie.
Earth First launched what protesters called their guerrilla flotilla this afternoon at the Fields Landing boat launching facility. Between 30 and 40 people participated in the demonstration. They say exporting whole logs to foreign countries is hurting the economy and the ecology of the region. Earth First supporters say they are tired of being labeled as anti-worker and responsible for mill closures. They say it's not the environmentalists causing the loss of jobs in the timber industry, but the exporting of logs is a major contributor.
A lot of people blame environmentalists for the mill closures, and we're here to point out that 1/4 of the whole logs that are cut in this area are being shipped overseas to Japan. And this is where a lot of the jobs are going, and not only are they depleting the forest, but they're also depleting the mill workers' livelihood. So we're here
Today's floating protesters eventually made it to the Allen and Finn dock in Fields Landing. Company official Woody Murphy says he has no problem with the group protesting. However, Murphy does support the right of private property owners to sell their logs to the highest bidders, and sometimes foreign buyers are the highest bidders. Murphy also said he had no problem with the protesters doing what they did on public property. However, they came into the log yard and sheriff's deputies were called in to remove them.
All right, Leslie, one curious thing in this story. Did you get the feeling that Earth First was trying to change its image to one of pro-timber worker in this exercise, or are they simply against the export altogether?
Well, they've been making moves in that direction, I would say, for the past maybe even year or so. That they are pro-timber worker. It's just that they are anti-big business.
All right, Leslie, thank you very much.